Hi, I'm on this fifth part of building this baseball game for my video game physics class. So this class is a class that uses Pygame to do some simple two-dimensional physical simulations in a game format. And we do this at Xavier University of Louisiana. What I'd like to do here is I'd like to continue on from where I've been. So far, I've done F5 this, right? I've made a screen, a background that goes on the back of the screen, and I've made this little guy who is our pitcher, all right? And so last time I went through and I showed you how to draw the picture to the screen and how to draw each one of the little lines as well. This time what I want to do is I want to animate the picture. So I need to do two things. One, I'm going to need to get in there and change the state of the picture to different panels that go with the throwing of the ball. Actually, that's all I'm going to do this time. And I've already programmed in each of the different animation panels, right? They're based on the drawings that I gave you in the first one or two lectures, right? Or one or two videos for this baseball game. Except they're going to be stick figures like this guy down here. At the very end, I'll find a way to put those pitcher drawings and the batter drawings on this field so that it looks a little better. But right now, I want you to get used to drawing things on the screen, drawing things in a scaled environment, and so forth and so on. Remember, everything that we do in this class, except for the buttons and wingdings and things like that, they're going to be done in actual meters or feet or whatever. This one's done in feet because, you know, it's baseball, it's American, so we're going to use feet. We're not going to play around with any of those European units. So right now, I've shown you how to do that. I programmed in the other ones. Now I want to get into this guy, and I want to be able to change the state so that he'll cycle through from standing there waiting to throw to each one of the intermediate steps in the throwing part of the game. So we're just going to have them go through those steps. There are another 4 drawings, and that's about it. The only thing that we have to do on top of that is add some sort of control. Now, there are a couple of different ways I could do that. One would be using the timer, and the other is going to be using a mouse button, or you could also use the keyboard. But I'll use the mouse button because after this, in the next video, I'm going to go ahead and use the timer, and I'm going to use a button to start it. So we'll start with the buttons and using the timer for a state next time. This time we're just going to switch states by using the mouse button. Next time we'll use a button on the screen, right? We'll use a button on the screen, a little square box, and that will start the pitcher throwing. And then after that, we can start getting into some of the physics stuff pretty quickly. But right now, what we're going to do is we're just going to cycle through these different pictures. All right, so what we need to do is we need to come in here and we need to change the drawing. So right now, you see I've got different frames here. Right now, this thing just draws frame 1, right? We want it to draw all. We wanted to draw all 5 of those frames, so we need to do all 5. This isn't going to be very good, so I'll show you in just a second how beautiful drawing all 5 of them at the same time is. You see, you've got all 5 of them there. It looks like a photograph that you'd see in a thingamabob. I forget the name. It's really a shame. But we don't want to see all of these at the same time. We don't want to get this multiple exposure effect going on. We want to see one frame at a time. So I've got to fix that in some way. So I've got to tell it how to choose among these different pictures, right? And what I think I probably should do is I should have some variable that's part of this class, right? So I'm going to modify the class of the baseball pitcher guy, right? So I'm going to modify that by adding a state variable, and I'll just call it state. Self.state, and it'll start at 0, This is a computer science class. We start at 0, right? It's a physics class too, but in computer science, you start at 0, just like the center 0 here is the x component and center 1 is the y component. You know, when you're indexing things, you start at 0. So maybe I should have started with frame 0, but that would have not been the way I want to do things. So what I want to do is say if, this is the if statement, this is a very selector thing, the state of self, if the self state is equal to 0, right, then we want to display frame 1, all right? And we don't want to display anything else, just that frame 1. All right, then we want to get rid of these other guys, right? So we can do an elif the state is something else, right? If it goes to 1, it does frame 2, right? elif self state is equal to 2, goes to frame 3. It's very important to use double equal here. That's something Python likes to get you with if you want an error. If you want an error, just leave one equal sign in there. Maybe I'll do that for you. Just leave one equal sign in there, and let's see how it likes that. So you see, well, yeah, let's just see if it catches that right away. So it catches that one right away. So it knows that you can't have this going on. So that one equal sign is an assignment, right? One equal sign says, I want self-state to be 3. Two equal signs is a question, right? It's asking, is the state 3, all right? And that's going to be either true, it is in state 3, or it's false. Right now it should be false. So if I run this now, I have the same thing going on. I haven't actually changed anything. I could do something else, right? If I come up here and I change the state to another number, right, I get another drawing. So that's fine. But I want to be able to do that inside the game. I don't want to have to stop and, you know, start the game over and over and over again just to get a different picture. So I want to be able to do something in here to change the state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a new method, all right? And that method would be whatever I wanted to call it. Change state, right? Self. So this will just change the state. It'll increment the state. Maybe increment state would be better. And then I'll say self state plus equals 1. So that means it'll take whatever the state is and add 1 to it. So if it's 0, then it'll go to 1, right? And if I were to run everything now, nothing would change because this change state thing hasn't done anything, right? So I need to find a place to do that, right? So I could come down here into main and right here just say what is my guy called? He's called pitcher. Change state. So instead of self, now it's pitcher, and change because pitcher is what it's called, right? Self is, when I say pitcher equals pitcher, that's assigning self to be the name of the object pitcher. So this is telling me where the pitcher is. Self is the pitcher itself. And so on the pitcher, I'm calling the change state method and making it change something. And now I'm going to have something less than fun. And it just went through there and drew it really, really fast, right? That's not exactly what I want to do, right? I don't really want to just draw it really, really fast. I want to be able to actually see that I'm going through and drawing it. So this might not be the best place. In fact, I'm going to tell you what the best place is. You know, we're using user control to make him run, right? So the best place to change something like that is in the control, right? So we're controlling the pitcher. Control just controls the avatar here, right? And so instead of pitcher, now he's the avatar. Change state, right? That's not enough, right? First thing, when I call control here, it doesn't control anything. So if I do F5, I'll get an error, right? And that's because right now I haven't told it which object is my avatar. My avatar, again, is the picture. So it has to go there. But now we don't get anything really interesting there because, well, I haven't told it when to do it. I just told it every time it calls control, which is every time it goes through the loop, to do that. So now I have to add in some user control here. So to add in the user control, I have to do the same sort of thing that I did way down here, right? You see, it says if event.type is equal to video resize and stuff like that. Well, that's what we have to do now. I'm sending the event to control, and I have to ask questions about what that event is. And so what kind of event is it? Is event.type, right? Here's my event. What type is it? And I'm going to ask specifically if it's the mouse button down. Has the mouse button gone down? And if so, then we change the state. That's what I actually want to do. All right, so let's see what happens. What have I done? Oh, it has events here. So I really only want one event. So there we go. I've got the guy sitting right there. And every time I click the mouse button, it changes his state. But he doesn't cycle through it. There's no way to reset it right now. So it just goes through once. How would I reset it? Well, I could do something fairly simple, and this is how I would do it. Right here in this change state thing, I already know what the maximum state is, right? If self state is greater than or equal to 5, I want self state to go back to 0, right? And that way when I get to this last frame here, right? When I get to this last frame and I click the button, it'll go back to the first frame. Good enough idea, I think. So let's see what happens. Click, 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 back to 0, okay? And it looks like a guy throwing the ball. And it looks smoother if I have a fairly smooth click rate. So fairly simple. That's exactly what I want to do. Now I want to sort of animate that with the timer in the next video, right? So I've done it now manually. What I want to do is I want to put a button down here that says pitch, click the button that says pitch, and make it go. All right. I think that's going to be fairly simple. We'll use a predetermined button, a pre-made button in the game class. So you don't have to make your own buttons. You just have to learn how they work. You're going to call an object, which is a member of the button class from the game class package that has all the nice things that help you work on this thing, like the colors and things like that. It also has buttons and force bars and other things like that. So I think that's enough for right now, and hopefully that'll help you out with whatever problem you happen to be having right now. All right, thanks. Bye now.